Hello, my name is Ariana Biriki. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the visibility guide for projects, which includes all communication requirements related to your Interreg V-A project. So let's get started. Why is communication important? On one hand, it is an obligation. The European Commission sets out certain regulations that we as a program and you as a project need to comply with. But more importantly, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to raise awareness of the people to the EU-funded developments. We want them to use it, to know about it, to visit it, because this is how we can ensure the sustainability of the project results. In order to help you with complying the communication requirements, we introduced 3 measures. The first group is the visibility measures. The aim is to promote the visual identity of the program and the European Union. This is how we comply with the European Commission goals. The second group is the communication measures, whose aim is to promote the beneficiary organization and the results of the project. And our third group is the marketing measures, which will help us to ensure the future utilization of the project results. So let's walk through them, all 3 measures. First of all, let's talk about the visibility measures and the related tools. You might be familiar with some of them: the poster, the billboard, the plaque, and the markings. The poster is mandatory for each and every beneficiary whose total budget is below 300,000 euros, or for those whose total budget is over 300,000 euros, but have only soft elements in their project. It means, in practice, that in the beneficiary's budget, there is no money on budget line 7, whose name is Infrastructure and Works. So each of these beneficiaries must put up a poster within 90 days after the project start date, and they have to keep it there until the end of the follow-up period. It must be made of plastic in an A2 size. We have a template ready for you, and it's mandatory to use. You can see here in this slide, we have a Hungarian template for the Hungarian partners and Slovak template for the Slovak partners. You have to use these templates and send the draft layouts to your program manager for approval at least 15 days before the final deadline. And this final deadline is the 3 months after the project start date. All other beneficiaries whose total budget is over 300,000 euros and they have infrastructure elements in their project part, they have to prepare a billboard. The deadline is also 90 days after the project start date, but they have to keep it only until the project end date. It has to be made of plastic or metal in the given size. We also have a template for that, which needs to be approved by the JS program manager 15 days before the final deadline. And as every project and construction site is different, the location must be consulted with the program manager, but as a main rule, the billboard has to be put out at the construction site. And those who had billboard, at the end of the project, they need to change it for a plaque. It shall be made of metal, and it should be in this given size. We also have a template for that. You can see it here in this slide. The layout must be approved with the JS manager, and also the location must be consulted with her. And we have the markings as the last of the visibility elements. It's also mandatory for each and every beneficiary who are putting out information boards, such as route signs, educational boards, guiding boards, any other boards other than the billboards or posters or plaques. Markings must be used for high-value vehicles or machines. You must consult the draft layout of the marking with the program manager before printing it, but you have to make sure that you have the following visibility elements on it, which is our logo, the slogan of the program, the acronym of the project, the name of the fund, and it must also include a link to the program website. A new thing compared to the previous practices in our program, that you don't need to use stickers anymore for other items or equipments. For example, if you are buying a laptop, you don't need to put a sticker on it anymore. So these markings are only for the information boards, high vehicle machines, and high value vehicles and machines. So these were the mandatory visibility elements, mandatory for each and every beneficiary. So let's move on to the communication measures. The aim here is to promote the beneficiary organization and the results of the project. We have several tools attached to it. In the next few slides, we will go through them one by one. Press release. Issuing 2 press releases is mandatory for each and every beneficiary. The first press release must be issued within 90 days after the project start date, and the second one within 30 days after the project end date. You need to send the draft version of the press release and the list of addressed media to your GS program manager for approval. And there are several mandatory information that this press release must include. Namely, this is the name of the program. You can see here on the side in the cells, name of the program, name of the fund, the title of the project, the summary of the project part. You must choose an illustration, which can be the same picture as you are using for your poster, billboard, or billboard. You must state the amount of the community contribution, which is the 85% amount coming from the European Regional Development Fund. You must introduce your partnership and the benefits of cooperation in this press release. You must use the language as the given medium is using and what your target group understands. Every beneficiary must also present its project part on its own website. You have to do this 90 days after the project start date and keep it there until the end of the follow-up period. The content of this summary must also be agreed with the JS program manager, and you shall use the language of your own website. If it's only one language, then this summary shall be published in this language. But if you have more language variations of your website, then please publish this summary in all language variations that you're using. If you do not have a website, then you must use your social media page, if you have one, for publishing this summary. The mandatory information are the same as for the press release that you must write or describe in your project summary, but also there are visibility elements that you must display in this article. It is the logo of the program, our slogan, the acronym of the project, the name of the fund, and the link to our program website. The next mandatory elements are closing event and handover ceremony, which is mandatory for each and every beneficiary. But closing event is mandatory for those beneficiaries whose total budget of the project part is below 300,000 euros, or those who are over 300,000 euros, but with soft elements. These beneficiaries must organize or participate in a closing event. For all other beneficiaries with infrastructure elements in their project part, have to organize a handover ceremony. The date and venue shall be consulted with the JS program manager, and the event must be announced to the Joint Secretariat using the online event announcement platform on our website at least 50 days before the event. The access details will be sent to you shortly to this platform. To the events, there are mandatory information that you must share with the participants of the event. This is the name of the program, the name of the fund, the title of the project, summary of the project part, amount of the community contribution, description of the partnership, and the benefits of cooperation. And also visibility elements must be displayed, which is the logo, the slogan, the acronym, the name of the fund, and the link to the program website. The easiest way to comply with the visibility elements is to prepare a roll-up, for example, that has all these elements at least, but it's up to your decision if you prepare a roll-up or not, or what kind of design you're doing for it. But if you are using one, you can make sure that you comply with all visibility elements, and you can avoid any financial corrections related to your event. At any time of the project implementation period, you can organize a press conference. It's optional. It's up to you if you think it's useful and relevant to your project part. But if you are organizing one, you must announce it to the Joint Secretariat with this online event announcement platform. And you must consult about this with your JS program manager. Please make sure that all these mandatory information and visibility elements that I showed you before are displayed and described during your press conference. You might also publish sponsored articles at any time of the project. Please make sure that you comply with the rules of the press release to comply with all regulations. And the photo documentation, which is a new element in our visibility regulations. Each beneficiary shall submit 20 high-quality photos of its project part, the latest until 1 month after the project end date. We would like to see what happened in your project and how it looked. Please make sure that all the pictures are copyright and royalty-free. It's also your responsibility to comply with the GDPR rules. It's mostly very important if you are having people on your pictures, in case you have a soft project. So must familiarize yourself with the national regulations in terms of personal data protection. These photos that you are sending to us will be used for promotional purposes and will be shared with third parties. For example, the European Commission, the managing authority, or the national authority, or we might use them for publications online or printed. And we arrive to our third group, which is the marketing measures. The marketing measures are to ensure the future utilization of the project results, and there are several attached tools for it. The list is not final. You can add any kind of tools that you find useful, but all these new elements must be consulted with the Joint Secretariat. So let's talk about the communication plan. All of these elements are optional, so it's true for the communication plan as well. The Joint Secretariat might ask for it if your project is very complex and it requires a very structured approach towards communication actions. But mostly it can be relevant to those beneficiaries whose total budget is over 300,000 euros with infrastructure elements. We have a predefined template for the communication plan, which your GS program manager will provide to you during contracting, but you have to prepare it latest until 60 days after the project start date. You might at any point organize a social media campaign by yourself or with the help of an external company. The language to be used shall be the same as your target group is using. There are certain visibility elements here that you must use. You shall tag our program. You should use our predefined hashtags at least, which is the Interreg V-A SKHU, building partnership, our slogan, the European Union, and please use your project's acronym. And if you want to add anything else, then you are free to do so. Please use our logo, the acronym, and the link to our program website. Also, don't forget to measure your reaches. All the costs of the social media campaign is eligible, but you will need proof how your advertisement or campaign went. Of course, you can produce online or printed leaflets, publications, or advertisements. The content of these must be agreed and approved by the JS program manager before publishing it or finalizing it. It can be either Slovak or Hungarian. Always make sure that you are taking into consideration the interest of your target group. You might also prepare videos. It has to be available with Slovak, Hungarian, and English subtitles as well. Again, please consult your JS program manager for approval. But mandatory visibility elements must be used for all publications and videos. The logo, the slogan, the acronym of the project, the name of the fund, and the link to the program website is mandatory for both of these categories. And the disclaimer, you might be familiar with this sentence, is mandatory for the publications only. You can produce promotional products, of course. There are two mandatory elements to be used on them. It's a link to our program website. It's www.skhu.eu and the logo of our program. Where limited space is available, like very small pen drives, for example, or USB keys, is the EU emblem. All the requirements towards these visibility elements will be found in the annexes of the visibility guide. Make sure that you are using all natural or recycled materials and that the items you are producing are reusable and sustainable. Our program is very much committed to comply with the environmentally sustainable approach during our implementation. And we kindly ask you to do so yourself. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this marketing measures, you can use any other tools that you find necessary or useful to promote your project results and to get it known by the people. You can add these tools during contracting, or if a new tool arises during the program implementation, then please consult your program manager about it. This table summarizes all the mandatory elements that are necessary for each and every beneficiary. You can see here that the beneficiaries are divided into three groups. The first column is those beneficiaries whose total budget is below 300,000 euros. Second column is those beneficiaries whose total budget is over 300,000 euros but have soft elements in their project. And also the last column is the beneficiaries with infrastructure projects. Please find your column where you as a beneficiary belong to and check all the mandatory elements that must be done throughout your project implementation time. So poster is mandatory for those beneficiaries with less than 300,000 euros or with soft elements in your project. Billboard must be used for infrastructure projects. Every beneficiary must issue one press release at the beginning of the project. Every beneficiary must inform the public about the project on their own website. And if you are buying any kind of machines, high-value vehicles, or producing information boards, then every beneficiary must use markings. Beneficiaries with infrastructure need to change their billboards to plug at the end of the project. And they also must organize a handover ceremony. By those project partners with posters, they need to organize or participate in a closing event. The second press release has to be issued 1 month after the project end date, and also within the same time frame, the photo documentation of each and every project part must be submitted to the Joint Secretariat. And a few tips and hints at the end of this presentation. This visibility guide for projects can be found on our website in the download section. Also, you can download the logo, the slogan, and the templates for the billboard poster plug in a compressed zip file. And please make sure that you use the visibility guide all the time before starting your communication action. because all visibility elements or requirements and exact wordings are written in this document. You might have heard in the previous presentations, we have a new monitoring system, so-called Interreg Plus. All communication activities are described in the activities, activity part, activity 2 communication, and also a little change compared to the previous times that we don't have the information and publicity sheet anymore. So all reporting about communication actions must be done here in this activity, and all supporting materials have to be uploaded to this section. So you don't need to upload documents to 2 different places. And the friendly reminder is that the lead beneficiary is responsible to coordinate among the partners and the joint secretariat. So if your partner needs to get their press releases or posters approved, then this beneficiary shall contact the lead beneficiary, and the lead beneficiary shall forward all the documents for approval to the joint secretariat. The approval and also the completion request will come through the lead beneficiary from the joint secretariat program manager. And as always, as you have heard it in this presentation a lot of times, always consult your JS program manager before finalizing any material. We would like to help you to avoid any kind of financial correction. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me or your designated program manager. Thank you.